All right, today is Wednesday, February 27th, 2019, and this is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. Let's jump straight into the 114 tasks. First, looks like Ye Chang started looking into some of the reconstruction issues with CSI, and as part of that, he found some other issues also unrelated or also related to just cleanup of CSI volumes. So he has fixes out for those. I think Jing and I are going to review them over the next day or two. And let's see, we also have, Andrew, you started on replacing the V1 beta calls with V1.
Yep, I think that PR is good to review.
All right, awesome. I will take another look. Did you have a question there that was unresolved?
So there was one place in the API server where we do like an override for resource encoding. And so I guess like my question, like that seems like some legacy code. So my question was if we could just get rid of that and just rely on whatever the default is.
I see. I think that sounds good. I would double check with someone from API machinery to make sure that's actually what the default is going to do, what we want.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Next up is moving the objects to beta.
So I have addressed the review comments, squashed the commits to 2. There is one error, but I don't think it's related to my code. I have just started that test again. There's one test I checked the log. It was getting an error when it was tearing down the cluster. I think it's not. I think it's part of the environment related, not really the coding thing.
Yeah.
So that's just a one test. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I took a quick look at this, and I think so far this seems okay to me, and I think all of Tim's comments are addressed. In the meantime, I think what Tim would like to see next is the implementation part in good shape. That way we don't end up checking in an API that becomes unimplemented.
Okay, so I will rebase the controller PR against this one. And so that's what he wanted, right? He wanted this controller. Okay. And then the sidecars. We should probably do the controller first, then the sidecars, I think.
Okay, yeah. I guess if we check in the controller changes first, we will have to temporarily disable our alpha tests because I think
right.
cars are not updated. So
right.
I think that's fine. It's an alpha thing, so it's not like it's supposed to work across upgrades. Anyway, all right. So let me know once you've rebased the controller changes, and I can start taking a look at that.
Okay.
All right. Next up is inline volumes.
Yes. So I think one of the update to the KEP finally got merged. I need to, actually it moved over to done. So I'm focusing on the API PR. Tim took a look yesterday. I addressed his concerns, and he did have a similar concern of having an implementation PR with this. So I basically replied to him with pointing to the other PR, which is rebased on top of the API PR for the implementation. And that's what I'm working on, and hopefully I can wrap that up today to have an implementation so we can start doing some E2E, write some E2E stuff against it.
Awesome. Yeah, just ping me once you've been able to rebase and it's ready for review again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I think the API is looking in good shape now.
Yes. Thank you very much for your help.
All right. Resizing, we're gonna skip over that. Migration. Deep, do you want to give an update?
Yeah, so let's see, we still have a couple of PRs outstanding. One is the one around the external provisioner, or rather the entry part of the the provisioning piece. So I think everything has been reviewed and David took a look, so it's LGTM'd. We just need a final look from Jan and the approval. Other than that, the changes in the external provisioner should be done by today. And I think David also started looking at inline volume migration. So he sent out a PR for that.
All right, great. Thanks for the update.
Sure.
All right, next up is block.
You mean the raw block?
Yeah, raw block.
So I've been traveling the last 3 days, including today. I'll be back in the office tomorrow. The main thing is this email thread going on about the publish stuff. It seems like it's not clear what we're supposed to be doing or what the CSI spec is supposed to say about node publish. So
okay. So I think it looks like that's going to take a while to resolve.
yeah, so we need to decide.
I guess what do we want to do for 114?
My inclination is to not change the raw block code, because the existing code works for at least some cases, and it seems closer to what the spec intends. Although I'm still trying to understand. In fact, I was in the process of writing a reply to Tim right now to try to figure out what we're really supposed to be doing here. because it also seems like there's a whole other bug, not related to this, but the way we handle non-block volumes might need to change to comply with the spec.
Yes, I think
so that's a separate issue. So I'm still working on tracking that down, and I have code reviews queued up to do when I get back tomorrow. I've been clearing out my backlog of code reviews, and things are looking better now.
Okay, so then is it
and the test cases is also on my to-do list.
Okay, so is it fair to say that for like 114, then we should focus on getting a driver that implements block, and then also increasing our test coverage?
Right, and not the refactoring that we engaged in earlier.
Okay.
So that PR can be put on hold. Unless suddenly the CSI community turns a corner and says, "Wait a minute, you're actually doing it right." But,
okay, sure. That makes sense to me. So I think code freeze is coming up. Code freeze is coming up. It's next Thursday or Friday, something like that. So
is that going to affect any new EDE tests going in?
Well, it will. The change to actually move the feature from alpha to beta needs to go in by next week, and we should not move it from alpha to beta until we have tests.
Well, we have some tests with that will be able to run on the CSI driver when the CSI driver block support merges. And we have an intent to add more tests, but are you saying that we wouldn't want to move it to beta until we have more tests?
I think so, because say what if we actually, because right now we're not running any tests, so what happens if we go and we move the feature to beta, it's code freeze, we add tests afterwards, and then we find out the tests that there are some major issues?
Well, I don't know what normally happens under those cases. I mean, there's the period between the code freeze and the ship date where we could, in theory, fix bugs if we found them with the new tests. Is that not going to fly though?
I mean, I guess the main thing is that it depends on, how big of an issue we end up finding
Yeah.
is. Right?
All right. Well, I'll do my best to try to identify any important missing test cases and get them coded up next week,
Okay.
or ideally tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah, so I think maybe sync up with Masaki on this because he wrote a bunch of tests for the raw block feature, and they're running against in-tree volumes, but I think because they're in the framework, they should be able to run against CSI drivers too. It's just we need.
That's been my assumption, is that once we get the CSI host path driver with block support merged, we can just turn on all of those tests and get fairly good test coverage. And it's a question of, do we need more or not?
Yeah. So I think it'd be good to look at the test coverage we get with the CSI driver. So I think we should focus on trying to implement the block support in the CSI driver first.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's what I was planning on doing anyways.
All right. Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is the external provisioner issues.
So I think that most of the issues are fixed and merged. The last outstanding one is saving PVs to API server. Now we try just a couple of times and then we delete the volume. I try to rework it. There is an in progress PR review. If it's the right approach would be nice. I just need to add a unit test and make it compilable actually. But the idea is there.
Okay. So there are 4 issues here in the to-do. Are you saying the other 3 here are already fixed?
The first one is. The second one will be fixed. Yeah. The third one could be closed. It's already fixed. And the scaling one should be also fixed. So
all right. Yeah, if it's fixed, then go ahead and close them.
I will close them tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the update. All right. Let's see. Patrick's not here, so we'll skip that. Next up is consistent sidecars. Let's see. Where are we on this? We still have the external provisioner remaining. I think I just had one question about the capabilities. But I think that's just a minor thing. Other than that, I think Andrew added the new package to split out the RPC wrappers with the connection stuff. And I cut RCs for that. So I think we can just update and try to use that instead. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah, and I can go back to some of the other sidecars that haven't been updated yet with the new RPC package and update those.
Okay, great, sounds good. All right, this is looking good. Xing, do you have any update on the leader election work?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, my coworker hasn't started yet. He said since now he's working on a new project, so he actually couldn't even start it in 2 weeks. So I'm wondering, should we try to find someone else to get this started? Because otherwise I'm not sure. I think he's interested. It's just now it's kind of hard to depend on him to finish something on time. That's the problem. So
I see.
I'm happy to help with this. If it
oh,
needs.
okay, great.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Let me go
Yeah,
ahead
that'd be great.
and assign yourself
Is
to this.
is this urgent for 114? Or I remember the last meeting there was some urgency with the leader election stuff.
So I think I don't think we need this before code freeze. But when
I
we
thought you were saying something that the resize need this one. So, like when we cut to CSI, depend on you mentioned something about this. I don't know the exact. Yeah.
it's not a huge deal right now. I think the resizer needs a new CSI spec in CSI libutils. It just means that until we can update CSI libutils to the new spec, they won't be able to use the common functions. But I think it's not critical for 114. Also, in the worst case, we can cut a branch of CSI libutils and we can end up cherry picking the leader election stuff if we need to. So I think
Okay.
it's fine. I think it's fine to do the leader election stuff later. It's not that urgent for code freeze. We can do it after code freeze too.
Okay, then I'll get to that after the get driver name and get capabilities ones.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
So I think okay. So first you work on the one in the CSI libutils first, and then you will be working on those the sidecars, right? The provision and the attacher. So in external snapshot right now there is a PR, but it's using one of the old methods. So, but let me know once you get there. Let me see because my coworker basically started that one. I will at that time I will check with him, see if he wants to continue with that particular one or if he wants you to take over. So just let me know. Thanks.
Great. What's your Slack handle so I can?
Oh yeah, it's XYANG. So I will just.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for the update. Next we have drivers. I don't think there's been any movement on this front. There's a few PRs out for review for iSCSI. I think that's about it. All right. That's all I have on our tracked items. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up? Oh, I have one more thing. We need to open docs PRs by Friday for all the features we're working on.
This Friday?
Yeah.
Oh, so including this one, the move CRDs to beta?
Yeah. So I think
one doc, okay.
Yeah. I think we can. It needs every feature issue. I think needs docs updates. So maybe if we're moving the objects to beta, there's actually like 3 features encapsulated with it. So we can try to break this up if it makes sense.
Okay.
Maybe Jan, would you be able to take a look at the skip attach and pod info docs?
Okay.
Okay. And I can take a look at the topology stuff. And then I think, I don't think we need docs for anything else. So I think
so just two docs probably. Okay, all right.
Did you mention the raw blocks to beta?
Oh yeah. So all of the features that we plan to add or promote in 114 need doc updates.
Okay. I mean, I created one of these back in 113 when we were trying to get it merged then, and I presume that's been abandoned or something.
Oh, you can probably just rebase it, I guess, off of 114.
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to find that old PR and resurrect it then, or rebase it.
And shall we update Kubernetes docs or Kubernetes CSI docs?
This is mostly for the Kubernetes docs.
Yes.
Okay.
It might be that the Kubernetes docs will just say, look at the Kubernetes CSI docs. It depends. I think the Kubernetes docs are focused more on the user side of things, whereas the Kubernetes CSI docs are focused more on driver developers. So wherever you, I guess, for skip attach and CS and the pod info, that's more for drivers, driver developers. So I'm not sure if we actually need Kubernetes.io docs.
I will check what is there.
Yeah. Either way, if you want to also go ahead and update the documentation for the Kubernetes.csi docs, then that would be great too. But I think that one does not need as strict of a deadline.
Sure.
All right. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up? All right. Then we will call it a meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.